I would never have thought, even a few days ago, that I might be recording a message like this for you, but the world has changed even in the last few hours. And I've been struck as I've watched what people have been saying and listened to people over the last few days about the sense of loss that people have experienced. So much loss of expectation, lots of things they had planned have disappeared, loss of certainty, loss of contact with friends, loss of all the things that are familiar. For me, I suppose the greatest loss is this sense that I'm no longer able to celebrate Mass with you. And that's a horrifying loss, at times almost overwhelming, because for a priest it's like discovering as a parent that you're not able to feed your children. As time goes by, the immediacy of these losses will begin to fade, and we'll begin to realise that although the world is different and not as it was, there are still opportunities, still things that we can do, still hope for change and difference. And for us, the role of being apostles of hope is fundamentally important. We believe that God can bring hope and good things out of even the most desperate and dire circumstances. We mustn't forget that this is the God who raised the dead Christ to new life. And so it's possible for him to do the most amazing things for us. And I believe absolutely that it's his will to do amazing things for us, even in these dark and difficult times. I hope that as we begin to get used to this new world where the sense of loss no longer overwhelms us, we'll learn to live a middle path, not pretending there is no problem and acting as if it didn't matter, and nor overwhelmed and paralysed by fear and despair, but that we'll begin to look for new ways in which we can be apostles of hope and heralds of joy to a world that desperately needs them. I think we might start by trying to keep alive a holy hunger for those things that we have lost, a hunger for the Mass. We must pray that that hunger remains with us, that we still remain longing for it, hungry for it, desperate for the return to the chance to celebrate Mass together. I hope we could also keep alive a hunger for society, for all those easy ways in which we were able to relate to one another, to speak to one another, to be together, to discover the joy of fellowship and friendship. So many of those seem to have disappeared for us now. But it's important we discover new ways to be close to each other, new ways to be a community, to be brothers and sisters. And in doing that, we need to hold on to the fact that, of course, some of our community find it very difficult. Modern technology is not easy for them, and we mustn't let them get left behind. One of the readings for the fourth Sunday of Lent comes from Ephesians, and it says that we should wake up from our sleep. And in this difficult time, that's where we need to begin by being wakeful. This is no time to be in bed, sleeping and dozing. There is work to be done. We need to wake up from that sense of despair and paralysis that perhaps started at the beginning of the crisis and start to be active. There are things to do. When St. Paul wrote to the Romans, he wrote some wonderful words. He says, "We know that all things work together for good for those who love God." And I believe that is absolutely true. There are great things that God has planned for us. He has wonderful opportunities for us that we need to grasp and take hold of. No one else will do it, only us, only you and me. We are the apostles of hope. We are the heralds of joy. As I said at the beginning, it seems very hard for us that we cannot celebrate Mass together, and it's a particular burden for me not to be with you for Mass. But I do want you to know that although we must remain physically separate, it's so important that we remain spiritually together, that we are, if anything, even closer now than we were before. I'll be celebrating Mass every day, 7 days a week, at 9:30 in the morning. If you hear the church bell ring, it means I'm about to start to celebrate Mass. And as I go to the altar to celebrate Mass, I will carry there with me all the people you would have prayed for at that Mass. All of the hopes and dreams and longings and expectations, all the fears and anxieties, all the family members you would have wanted to remember at the altar, all the sick and the suffering, the sad and the lonely, and also all of the rejoicing and the causes for happiness and delight. All of those I will take to the altar with me on your behalf. If it is a burden on your heart, it will be a burden on mine, and it will be a great joy to me to take that to the altar for you. So, as I say, we must remain spiritually very close. This must be our greatest desire and wish, our greatest passion in this time, that we do not let ourselves become separated. We must continue to pray for one another and to pray for the world around us, to pray for a rapid end to these difficult times. And we must hope and believe that at the end of it all, some of the new things that we have learnt, some of the ways in which God has helped us to approach the world around us, to spread the good news and to share the gospel, things that we would never have dreamed of doing in the past, we will have learnt new ways that will last with us forever, long after the crisis has passed, as pass it will. Already I'm looking forward to the next time that I can go to the altar and carry with me your hopes and expectations, and it will give me great joy to do so. Do pray for me as I will continue to pray for you. And oh, what a party we will have when next we can celebrate Mass together. Praise God in his holy place. Praise him in his highest heavens, as the psalmist says. May God bless us all.